Welcome to the House of Azor podcast. I'm your host, William, and joining me will be Derek.
Hello.
Sean.
Hello.
And special guest, Lauren.
Hello.
And you're on the podcast Kill Screen Cinema.
It's called Kill Screen Cinema, and we watch movies based on video games and about video games. So I have seen all the Resident Evil movies for this very specific, weird, fun podcast we do.
Yeah,
So, do you ever do movies that
Good?
seem like video games? No, that seem like video games, like that have almost a format or take
like
something.
District 9 could have easily been based on a video game.
Or I'm thinking of oh my gosh,
Hardcore Henry, which is first person.
We did actually do Hardcore Henry.
the Chris McQuarrie that he helped finish write, that Tom Cruise movie that I love.
Oh, Live Die Repeat.
Live Die
Legend of
Repeat.
Tomorrow.
Have you all done that?
We
or
did
thinking
not.
about it?
Yeah, no, we didn't do. We have done some things like I think it's called Nerve, where people are playing a video
Yes,
game like
okay,
in
yeah.
real life. But like we try to stick to things that are specifically based on video games, because otherwise it's like all
For
this
sure. Do you know what Live Die
nebulous-
Repeat is about?
That's the Tomorrow. That's the one
Yeah.
where you
Edge of
die.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
It's essentially,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
have
like
seen it.
a video game conceit, but
Right.
it is essentially, that is like the most feeling of playing a game, because
Yeah.
as he's going through the battlefield, he's learning each time. So it's just like a game where
Right.
he dies and it's like, okay, what do I need to do to change this?
Yeah.
That's, I didn't know how far out you guys went, but
We did Gamer and we did Hardcore Henry.
Gamer.
And
Ready Player One.
yeah, we
that
did
one.
talk about Ready Player One.
I haven't seen that.
I'm not a fan, but that's a
Yeah.
whole. We don't need to talk about that. No, I was trying to think. There's another very dumb. Oh wait, we just did the something scary. It doesn't matter. Up next, we're doing Ouija because we have.
Because it's a board game?
Because we can't. We've been doing this for 3 years, and we are at the
Yeah,
bottom of
that's
the
what I was-
barrel
yeah,
on video game movies. So now we're like, what else is there?
You have done
Board
Street
game.
Fighter.
We have done both the street.
What about the
Yeah.
animated ones?
We've done. We did a couple of the. We do
Yeah.
a couple of the animated, but there's so when it comes to the anime, there's
Yeah.
so much anime that we're like.
You can do the Tekken animated one.
And we
know,
did the first the Tekken, the animated Tekken. We've tried to avoid things that don't go to theaters, because again, if you don't, then there's like Season of the Wolf and like
Yeah.
all of these. Oh man, we watched the Sonic Christmas Blast.
Yeah, I've seen that posted around. Now, was that the Jaleel White one that was like, or the
Yeah. Here's the fun thing about Sonic Christmas Blast. This is too much information. So in the 90s, there were two Sonic animated shows running simultaneously that were completely different. There was like Adventures of Sonic, and then there was like Sonic and I never can remember the name. And the movie of Sonic Christmas Blast blends the worlds together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In a unnecessary way.
I didn't, because I watched both those at the time, and I read the comic book.
Yeah.
So the good show was like based on the comic.
Right.
And I watched that. I read the comic. Watched both those shows. I didn't know they blended the two. That's
Sonic was Archie, right?
There was an Archie Sonic comic.
I
yes,
remember.
yeah.
I remember we had some of the Archie.
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
I had a lot of those.
Yeah. Because there's stuff in our parents' basement, a big box of the comics back then. And there was like Sonic Archie comics, or they turned him into a robot or something.
Thankfully for you all, there's so many game movies coming out at least.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like at
I'm
least
psyched about the new Sonic movie, and I don't think it's going to be good at
it's
all.
gonna be a big year for you guys.
Oh. We watched the Angry Birds 2 movie, which is better than you'd expect.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, because the video game movie's been on a tough nut to crack, and they've been trying for a while.
It just seems like there's a lot of games that just give you give you a plot. And if you just went by that verbatim, you'd have a decent movie. And then they just.
But then you
don't
have
ever do
like
that.
Max Payne, where they're like,
Well, if
let's
you're
introduce a
talking about,
bunch of
like-
stuff.
You know,
Yeah.
like late 90s on, because then you get Mario Brothers, like they just, you know,
Oh, right,
which, you know, what's the story there?
Yeah.
But then you've got ones that are like Silent Hill, or like honestly Street Fighter, where like it's a relatively simple story,
Yeah.
but then instead they're like, okay, so what if instead of a fighting tournament, they are trying to stop Bison from building a mall so that he can control money in all of the other countries so that he can get rich. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why is this necessary?
Just make Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
You know?
And then they're like, instead of being, a secret agent, Chun-Li is a reporter. I'm like, that's not necessary. Stop it.
And like the young audience, they just want, you know what I mean? They don't care about all that.
It's not necessary.
They should have said Jean-Claude Van Damme doing cocaine consistently. That's what he did anyway. He just had him do that.
I remember going to see Mortal Kombat in the theaters.
And be
it was actually at
disappointed.
Baxter Avenue, I think. But when Scorpion and Sub-Zero showed up, people in the audience were literally like, yeah, I know that character.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat is one of those ones that people really fanboy over, and I've played the game, but like not a lot. So like then there's that chameleon guy. I forget what his name is.
Reptile.
Reptile shows up, and who is he?
Yeah, they just
Why
start
is he?
yeah.
He's just like a lizard thing, like crawling over the walls.
He
and
showed
I'm
up
like, what is that?
from Transformers Beast Wars.
He showed up from the Monsters Inc. universe.
They literally like copied and pasted those assets out of like the Saturday morning cartoon show into the movie.
But they made sure to like put it on the screen too. They didn't try to hide it because there was like one thing where he's like a full screen headshot of it.
I don't know. It's fine. I mean, we have a lot of fun talking about it. We also hold some very unpopular opinions because I know people love that Mortal Kombat movie. It is the most popular. We took a poll. It's the most popular video game movie amongst our fans. And even though I'm like, I don't think you guys have seen it since you were 13. I don't think it necessarily holds.
Did we do it on the podcast, or did we just what? Did I?
No, we did it.
We
did it?
did it,
Okay, yeah.
Because we tried to watch Annihilation too, and it just, or we talked about it, because I can't even get through that.
Yeah, I did not watch that recently.
It's so
So
cold.
what is, you don't have to give it away, but what is one of your favorite video game movies?
Honestly, the one that surprises us the most was the first Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And the Dead or Alive. Because I know that we're about to talk about a bunch of Paul W.S. Anderson.
Man.
Dead or Alive, the movie, is super corny, and I mean, it's full of just extreme objectification of women, and I have a problem with that. But at the same time, it knows exactly what it's doing. It's like, these are people, they're going to a fighting tournament. You get to see Jamie Presley walk around in an American flag bikini and like do high kicks. And then also it just focuses on women's butts a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the
that's-
trailer, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, they went for full Dead or Alive.
But they do a volleyball tournament. And I'm like, yes, great. Excellent job referencing the only game that I've ever hated. Like really, truly hated. Because it's like a problem. Sorry.
So is that what he was doing while he was not making the second and third movie?
No, because I don't think Dead or Alive, I think Dead or Alive came out more recently than you think it did. It had a lot of trouble getting released in America. Like there's a whole story where Jamie Presley had to watch it. She had to get an illegal copy of it here in America because it wasn't released here. She was like, I had so much fun making this movie, and like had to get an illegal DVD
man.
to see herself be in this film.
I like her, yeah. I
think
need to
she's
check
great.
it out then, because I was going to give it a pass, but
I don't know.
I
I think
haven't
it's a lot
looked
of fun.
into it much after it came out, so I'll check it out.
I mean, it's not like good, but it's a lot
I like
of fun.
the Dead or Alive games, but it is from like the gameplay, but it's like the characters are all stupid caricatures.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like, it is this stupid novelty of like,
Yeah.
hey, there's the person I know. It's why they make these movies, because people go, hey, that's the person I know.
yeah.
you know?
Well, too, a lot of this stuff just seems like, from a different era. Like, it's getting back to like the Resident Evil, like these movies, it's a time capsule. And the funny thing is, the last one was released in 2016.
Yeah. So we were talking about this, like the aesthetic from Resident Evil 1, 2001 did not change at all to Resident Evil 6.
Yeah,
in
there was
2016.
very little
Like, it
shift
felt
on the way the
pretty-
action scenes were shot and everything. They felt pretty cohesive in
Yeah.
that regard, at least.
Yeah, like, and we'll get into it more, but I just love how each movie just disregards.
And now Matrix is coming back, so they filled that gap in the middle of like the.
And what's funny with these two is like the games did change their aesthetic drastically over the years. The movies didn't, which is usually the reverse.
But usually the games kind of went toward more the movie side. Then everybody kind of had a huge backlash, like, okay, we're done with that, and they went back.
Well, because two is like, before we get into it, like, so the games. So I had played 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that was kind of it. And I had seen people play the other ones. And you had played.
I've played RE1, the original and remake, and beat both of them. I've played Resident Evil 2 remake and beat that. 3 I bought in GameCube like probably about a month ago and I beat that. 4 and 5.
He's been a Resident Evil
Yeah, I've never played
doing it.
6 outside of a demo, and I have no interest, and I've beat 7. So I'm pretty familiar with the main continuity storylines, but like when you get
Code
into,
Veronica.
I haven't, but I haven't played all of it yet. So when I get outside of that, like I've never played Resident Evil 0, and like any of the other stuff that's just like they have the Survivor games or whatever.
Yeah,
They're
I've played a lot of Resident Evil. Like I haven't beat. There's some like I never finished the very end of 4.
Yeah.
But I've played through 5 like probably twice. But yeah, 0 I've played some of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Played through some of Code Veronica, not all of it. The DS ones, like what are they called? Resident Evil.
I know what you're talking about. 'Cause
Yeah, there's Revelations 1 and 2.
See, I never played Revelations.
Played a bunch of 6, 7.
Oh, yeah,
You beat 7.
I played Code Veronica because I had a Dreamcast.
Yeah,
for 2
I've
years.
pretty much always dig into anything. The Outbreak games.
Yeah, see, those ones I've never
ones,
played
yeah.
Outbreak.
I liked Outbreak. Yeah, so I was like very excited when this first one came out.
Yeah.
We went with a bunch of
But
friends.
see, what sucks too is like in 2001, you had the Resident Evil original remake come out. And then the movie, I can't remember the timeline when the two came out, but it was really close to each other. So you had like the movie come out, which I didn't see till later because I was like 11. So I just played the remake, and then you watch the movie and you're like,
Yeah,
you know, because it's so vastly different tone.
For me at the time, like that era, you had that I had watched was Super Mario Brothers, the movie, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter.
Sure.
And yeah, I liked Mortal Kombat. I never like went out and bought it, but I liked it. Even the Street Fighter, I was like, whatever, that was stupid fun. Like Honda, getting lashings and like being on another plane. Like there was so many weird things. And I liked the Super Mario Brothers maybe for what it was because it was just
It's
so
weird, yeah.
Like I enjoyed it. I'm like, okay, at least it's not boring. So when Resident Evil and like Tomb Raider were coming out, I'm like, oh, these are like the next wave of like 3D games, and they're making movies of these. So I was excited, and even though they weren't like, didn't nail it, I was like, whatever. Also, it was a zombie movie, and those weren't big at the time. You know what I mean? Like that was the first zombie film I probably had saw in theaters ever.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because like that was before the big zombie boom again. So
It was around the
that
same
one-
times. The same year was 28 Days Later. I believe.
No, I did see 28 Days Later
Yeah.
in theaters then. Yeah.
So then your experience with the games.
Oh, so I don't really do horror games. Like I know this is like a horror movie podcast. I genuinely don't do a lot of horror.
Yeah.
So like I
It's good
can't. I don't
because
have
this movie
the-
really isn't much horror.
Yeah, I do not have the stomach for a horror game, so I don't have any. I'm coming to this from a purely just they are movies sort of.
Well, that's what he was talking about. Like the fifth one is like more action oriented, kind of like these are. There's a little bit, but like the sixth one, there are some horror elements. There's different sequences,
you're like riding
but it really
motorcycles up
is like
walls.
there's a whole like you're in the Middle East, like shooting people. Like it's a military thing. Like the sixth, like by the sixth one, they go very close to the games, and where it's like, hey, this is like just an action thing.
Well, because I think too. So kind of getting back to the movies now, like the first 2 games were very much horror experiences. Like the first game, you're in a in a haunted mansion with scary zombies and
third
monsters.
one too.
And then the third one too. It's a little bit more faster
action.
paced,
Yeah.
but still very much like you're afraid to see things. It's a survival horror experience. But then the movie, the first movie is very much kind of like sci-fi action.
Yeah.
There's still
And-
horror-ish elements
So
to
I think-
it.
But then, like, the liquors don't show up. Like, they're there,
Yeah.
but they don't, like, do anything.
Yeah,
And I'm like, that
until the
seems
very
like a
end.
real... That seems like a real waste.
But then also, the special effects were so
That's true.
horrifically bad for the liquor. I think that was probably a good thing because they did it in the second one. And it was still just as bad. It was like 3 years later. And
But there is, like, the decapitation at the beginning, and then, like, that whole room full of zombies, and I'm like, I thought... And those dogs, I think, are terrifying still.
Yeah, I mean, there's good sequences.
Yeah.
Have you seen Event Horizon?
Oh, I don't think so, no.
Yeah, he also did that, and that is...
Wait, is that the one where they build a gate to hell in space?
It's where Sam Neill is a scientist,
Yeah.
and they
Yes.
had
Okay,
a-
then I have seen Event Horizon.
That's also
Yeah,
the
it's
same
like
director.
there's the expedition that failed. We're going through the black hole, and they go to they find the old ship.
like one thing I
But it
always
is
talk
people trapped in a place. And,
Well, and two, so-
it's...
So like with
all Paul W.S. Anderson movies are the same. They're all trapped in a place.
because I don't go too much down digression, but Aliens versus Predator is
That's a
very
good
similar
one.
screenplay to Resident Evil. They go to an underground catacomb. It's even some of the same cast.
And the same guy dies in
The guy that was like the leader of the SWAT team in Resident Evil 1 who gets chopped up into bits by the net gets caught in the Predator's mesh net.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
chopped into pieces.
so in 2 movies. I think,
Interesting.
but like
So he's got like imagery that he returns to, but that's
but,
fun.
But looking
Yeah.
at these movies, over the era, so this was post Matrix. So like
Right.
Resident Evil 1, it came out 2002. So it's post Matrix, post Dark City, post Blade, post Cube, which I think it kind of pulls from too, if you've seen that.
Yeah.
So it's got like all these influences that it pulls from. I mean, it was probably too, because I think before they made that movie, George Romero had been in talks to make a more zombie-centric, traditional horror version of Resident Evil that didn't fly. But Paul W. Anderson's pitch, they did like, so they bought, and then that's what they made. So you see like all these influences, and then the movies after that, you see it very heavily be influenced by the Matrix sequels.
Yeah.
I think even kind of a little bit of like Blade 2 and Underworld.
Like the third one, I'm like, he saw Mad Max, and then he wants to do like...
The only one thing I can give the credit for the franchise is that it is a female-led film franchise through all 6 films. At no point, unless as far as the main character goes, was she, even though there was female nudity, it was never really overtly sexualized.
Yeah, and it's Marissa, what's her name? Mila Jovovich. She doesn't care. She's like, she will, you know, like
it's progressive in the fact that like how many times you get, and every female, there was no love interest in almost any of the movie. She was never a center of love. There was never like any male characters that showed up to rescue the women. Right. The women, and so I look at that, and it's like in that aspect, I had to give them credit for that because they did, even though they are what they are. Marvel took a decade. You know, DC took 30 years because they've been making movies longer since the 70s.
Because you mentioned that like, so you had like the Underworld films, which I think were aesthetically similar, but they had the love interest and everything.
Yeah, they're romance supernatural.
Like this one doesn't have it. This is just her going through, and she's never weighed down with trying to rescue a guy. There's never. I can't think of a scene where she was about to be killed where a man rescued her. It's usually always the other way around.
Then, like,
so I think that was cool.
And like you said, like there's like the I think it's like 1 and I think 2 and 4, I think. Or maybe it's 3. I'm forgetting. They're all blending together. Like there was like the little bit of nudity in Mila Jovovich, but it was very much played the same way as like Hugh Jackman's nudity as Wolverine in the X-Men films.
It's very chill.
Or Arnold coming, Terminator. Like
apparently, if you watch Terminator 1 on Blu-ray, you can see us flopping dong.
I don't know if you're on Twitter, but I saw that going around. There's a GIF of him, and it's like he's in the shadow, but all of a sudden it comes out of the shadow and back in, and out of the shadow and back in.
Do you think they CGI'd that in, or do you think it just existed?
No, I think what they said was like once they got a cleaned up original scan back on like a 4K Blu-ray, you could see it. You couldn't on VHS or the old DVDs.
Oh man,
more dynamic range.
So they didn't like give him underwear or whatever to wear. They just
I guess he just free body.
He's like, bodybuilder. I'm used to being naked.
Because I was talking about the objectification in Dead or Alive, and what I mean by that is that like it's literally just a shot of a butt. It's just shots of butts.
I remember the trailers. It was slow motion, just like
But
what you think about when you think about Michael Bay being the same thing. Yeah.
But the nudity in these films does not feel nearly like it doesn't. It just feels like she's naked now.
There's
like
something very
women are sometimes naked. Like
sterile about a lot of the
it's pretty sterile.
Yeah.
And I have to give it credit for that because a lot of movies don't do that, especially in the horror genre. Because it's not horror straight up horror.
Yeah.
But
and she and Paul Anderson are married, right?
Yes.
So, which I think
after the fact, right? After the first one, I think it was after they.
I think it's cute because from what I understand, they keep making these movies because they like working together, and I think that's adorable.
Well, now they're doing Monster Hunter, which is another Capcom game.
Oh, right, yeah.
But she's in it and he's directing it.
Yeah, of course.
So, and that's right now. That's like the biggest game in the world, pretty much.
Yeah, outside the U.S.
I was gonna say.
No, it's really big here though. It's really the most recent one.
They're actually
huge sales.
They're doing a Resident Evil patch where you get to play as Claire and Leon.
Yeah, no, it's very big here now.
But so like the movies, so they're not spending a lot of time on them individually. So, and just the timelines too. So Resident Evil was 2002. Yeah. Resident Evil Apocalypse was 2004.
No, Resident Evil 1 was 2001.
No, I think it's 2002.
It's 2002.
And real quick too, at the end of the last film, she gives a recap and she says the incident happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, the franchise took a long time to make, but apparently this all happens within a span of 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Apocalypse 2004. Then the one after that, Extinction, was 2007. Afterlife was 2010. Retribution was 2012. And the final chapter is 2016. So it's a franchise that spanned 14 years in releases and 10 years
and without any big gaps.
Time.
Like some franchises.
Like the longest gap was 2012 to 16, so 4 years. And two, like it's kind of frustrating that they're all named Resident Evil something, because I had a tough time figuring out which one was which. I had to go to IMDb and look at the dates.
Well, I was reading a little bit like, why is this film, like, why are these successful? You know, because they do feel like big budget sci-fi films, sci-fi channel films or something. You know what I mean? Like, just
it does feel very sci-fi.
as far as the audience they're going for.
One, two.
But they said apparently they, you know, for like the Chinese market stuff, they wanted it where
they've got to make money.
You did not have to know about the previous film. So if they named it 4, 5, and 6, then that would really deflate it. So I think that's why it's intentionally, because until you can go into any one and be like, whatever, I'll just start watching this, because they don't really care about their own.
What I love about these is like they made sequels and they would shoot ending scenes to the movies. So you have where this movie ends. Like Resident Evil 1 ends with Alice getting out of a facility with a shotgun in Raccoon City, which is destroyed.
I think the only ones where they kind of bridge from one movie to the next and keep it is 1 to 2.
But when that happens in 2, it's completely different because. But it's like, so they make these movies like, you know what, it's kind of like with Evil Dead 1 and 2, it feels like they lost the rights to the previous movie.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're going to kind of do what we kind of did, but then just screw everything we did in that last movie and get rid of all the characters and throw these new characters in there and don't even talk about it.
Yeah, because it's like 3 where she finds out that there's massive numbers of clones of her, right?
Yes.
And then in number 4, at the very beginning, they're like, oh, we blew them all up.
Yeah, they're gone. And then it never comes back.
Well, like until all of the heads show up.
Well, is it 5? No, is it the beginning of the 4? They're all in the pit basically, right? Beginning of 4?
Beginning of 4 is when all of the CGI Mila Jovovich's goes down into they just like suicide themselves. They're not
Japan headquarters of Umbrella.
And they're not being careful.
She's getting killed left and right. So like normally she goes through the entire series.
The first movie is her waking up in the shower. They go through the hive, and then her and the one journalist guy escape, and he gets bit by a licker and they take him to the Nemesis program.
Right.
The second one is her navigating through Raccoon City
with Jill Valentine.
Is Umbrella is considered like trying to contain it. And she runs into Jill Valentine.
What's her goal in that film?
There is no goal.
Alice
is just trying to
just to get out.
But they are trying to save the little girl in the second
one. Because
Dr. Marcus,
the scientist, or Asher or whatever, says that his daughter's there. If they rescue his daughter, he'll help them get out.
In the first one, the main goal is to shut down.
Just to stop the outbreak.
What's
the hive?
What's the AI's name?
Red Queen.
Basically to stop the Red Queen.
They go down there to try to stop that and prevent the T-virus from getting out.
So the second one, they need to escape and rescue the girl.
They escape the girl. The third one is when Claire and her convoy are just trying to survive, and then
they're going to go to Alaska.
And then Alice intermingles because they find the little notebook about the transmissions from Alaska. So they're trying to get to Alaska. But then you have the Jorah Mormont scientist guy, Dr. Isaac or something, that is wanting to find and destroy Alice.
For some reason.
I thought he wanted her blood.
Yeah,
he wants her blood.
Yeah, they want her blood.
Because that bonded with the T-virus.
Because she's immune to the T-virus.
And the whole going north when like society's gone bad in America is like a trope that is in a lot of things. You know, like Blade Runner is going north, Land of the Dead, George Romero's Land of the Dead, they're going to Canada. You know, like that always seems like, hey, just go north. You know, what does that say about America?
Even on like the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead, they're going to go to an island. So it's just like there's a lot of plots like that. So they're trying to get there. It's kind of like Mad Max-ish. And
so that one I was hopeful for. Like this first one, I was like, okay, whatever. They made a movie. I'm happy they made a movie. Second one, I was like, they put Jill in it or whatever, but that was really goofy. I mean, the third one, I gave them another chance. Cause like, okay, they're gonna do something different. I went to theaters to see that one.
Like it starts off with like The Hills Have Eyes, maybe Texas Chainsaw Style Massacre, Goofy Family. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool because then she kind of kicks all their asses and kills them. So like, I like where this is going. And then you keep it's like it had a good idea, but they veer off.
And I love that they just totally decided, hey, let's just go in a totally different direction. You know, the tone and the kind of genre.
Like she goes into that gas station and finds that dude who hung himself, and that's where she gets the notes. And then there's all the crows. I thought that was great. But then they go to Vegas, and everything after Vegas is nonsense.
So when I went to see it, I was like, okay, cool, because I loved Mad Max, but this is obviously pre-Fury Road, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, in my mind, I was like, is it going to be anywhere near as good as Matt? And it was not, so I was vastly disappointed.
They could have, if they were smart, they could have had her character almost essentially just made a female-led Mad Max movie and had her come in integrate the little bit of those characters and go off.
Yeah, that would have been
awesome.
awesome. Yeah.
But then
instead,
instead,
we're talking about like these movies being from a different era. So beyond the fact that you have action scenes where the entire score under it's like some new metal rock music, they cast Oded Fair as Carlos,
which he's great. Though.
So no, he's an amazing actor, but it's just like the era where they cast somebody that wasn't Hispanic to play an Hispanic actor. Like you're not white.
So yeah, but to be fair, they still do that. They just get flack for it now.
I'm just saying. In today's world, they may be like, okay, we really love him, want him to play the role. Let's just rename the character.
Yeah.
We don't need to be.
But Carlos is in 3.
Yeah.
Carlos is in 3.
So with all this stuff,
this is already the Resident Evil Apocalypse is Resident Evil Nemesis. That is
it's Resident Evil 3. And it's like, but here's the thing: if you discard so much of the games, why cling to these things that don't make sense?
And I think what happened was that I think people wanted.
Yeah.
You made Resident Evil
more of the
1,
game in there,
and then they gave you enough of like they gave you a reference to the mansion. They gave you enough references like, well, let's just go actually put a fan favorite character there. So they put Jill Valentine in her Resident Evil 3 ridiculous costume in the movie.
It's like she's running around in a tube top and a
skirt.
It doesn't make. And she's a cop. She's it's beautiful. I'm sorry. It's
she just walks in, starts shooting people in the head.
That seems great.
You should have listened to me. And then she just starts.
But see, it makes no sense because like there's no background for her character. She's a disgraced cop, but the mansion incident didn't happen. So how does she fight zombie? There's a lot of stuff where they just don't care and they just do it. They're like, we're going to throw her in there.
I did read a beautiful thing about the second one because Mila Jovovich and Jill Valentine are both wearing ridiculously skimpy outfits. And it was Mila Jovovich's idea that she was like, what if it's summertime? And that's why we're dressed so skimpily. So even though there are scenes where like you can see their breath, they were like freezing. They shot it in like Toronto.
Well, and
that is funny.
There's the thing where Jill and Alice are at odds for no real reason.
They don't know each other.
But see,
they both have maternal instincts over this child.
Yeah, but it's kind of like how many movies we watch with 2 dude leads that have a pissing contest the entire movie.
Oh, sure.
And you get this, and when was the last time we had a female-led movie where you have 2 strong female leads that have a... That's where you say, okay, I kind of like that because I don't see this in other movies.
Because at one point, Jill's
are they just written like? Are they writing them like men though? Is that the thing? You know what I mean? I'm not saying you're the
expert on how to write a woman.
But I'm saying that seems like like.
I'm not gonna lie,
it
did come off to me in that movie that it was like another woman. Like it came off as like a competitive female thing.
Yeah, it was weird. It was just kind of like. They're both used to being the
alpha.
the alpha. And then
Jill's like, I'm good, but you're better than me. I'm not that good.
Okay, but then what about where they go into the monastery or the church, where the hell it is, and then you have the priest that has his wife or grandma or mom or somebody that's strapped up in a chair. Then they never come back to it. There's always this stuff that's like that could have been interesting. But then you don't come back.
Well, they pick a lot of tropes that come from zombie films and pepper them in, but don't exploit them in the way you would in a full-on zombie film.
We have to talk about the Nemesis.
Yeah, well...
It's bananas bad.
Like
it was bad when it came out.
We were talking about this in a group chat on Facebook with a couple people, and it's like, is it good or bad cosplay? Because like I think if you saw somebody dressed like that at like Comic-Con or something like Big was saying, that'd be bad. Well, but then like if you saw because it's not good, it's so awful.
If you're not listening from the region, in Louisville they have the zombie walk, which is where they have like thousands of people come out and walk down the street dressed as zombies.
I can see somebody dressed
if somebody came there like wearing that costume, that exact movie costume, that would look cool. But
there's something about that number of prosthetics on film where it reminds me most of Adam from like season 5 of Buffy. Do you remember that terrible where he's got like a VHS? He can like plug like a cassette tape into his chest, and you're like, why are you doing this? Like he's like half zombie, half machine, half man, and I'm like, but then like when. Like there's so many other things to do. Why are you having this guy run around in all these prosthetics? I don't know. I don't know.
Again, they were doing that because it was directly from the game. But I think the thing I remember, it's exactly that's what chases them in the game.
But then there are other bad
so it was
guys
designed
later.
for a 3D game in 1999. But the thing about me is I haven't watched that in a long time, but I remember it being just in broad daylight or like directly lit. Like they did not want to hide that thing in shadows.
No,
They
they
should
wanted
have.
to
You know
show
what I
you.
mean?
But
They needed to
the
hide it
shoes-
somewhat in shadows because
the
it
shoes
looked
are
so
so
fake.
big and rubbery. You want to be like squeak, 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 and they're walking like because that's what it sounds.
Wait,
Like. They look like clown
Wait, when did
shoes.
this come out?
2004.
That was 2004.
They should have been better than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
At least like cleaned up the prosthetics with CGI.
they
But I, you know,
Well, like what's interesting is, so they showed
I don't
him.
think they had the budget for
They
CGI.
showed
Yeah,
him
I
in
know.
broad light, not broad daylight, but like a fully lit scene
Yeah.
where you see him fully lit and he's just walking around with his shoes like flopping.
Yeah,
And
like I said, they're big clowns.
so then, but later when him and Alice fight, they fight the scene. They cut the fight scene up into pieces where it's
Like
just like.
Taken?
Well, it's probably because the suit just looked absolutely ridiculous.
probably hard to
Yeah.
move it.
Yeah, I was like, he probably couldn't. He didn't
But-
have very good
But
mobility.
here's the one good thing
I want to
I
see
can
just
say
a wide
about
shot of that fight scene of him in that
Well,
suit.
that movie also has a bunch of the not shot in high frame rate slow mo, so it's like the really jerky bad
Yeah.
what
slow
looks better,
motion.
Goro from Mortal Kombat, the movie,
Yes,
or
Goro.
Nemesis,
Oh, Goro.
and it's like
That was 10 years earlier.
And it's like you look at that, and it's like, why didn't they just like try to go that route? Yeah, probably they had the budget. They had $40 million. You know what they spent? What when you see they had
Yeah.
the budget for $40 million?
But
like, what did they
wasn't
spend?
wasn't part of Goro claymation and stuff?
I think
This
so,
is 2004.
yeah.
Finding somebody to do claymation
Yeah, that's
in
true.
2004.
There was not a lot of people to employ
Yeah.
to do that.
I mean, I think that they
play
also.
those
So I
guys.
think the first movie was successful enough. You know, it made I think like 40 million domestic, around 100 worldwide.
Yeah.
You know, at least enough that made it possible to make a sequel.
Yeah.
And they said we got flack because we didn't have enough of the game in it. So let's just
Yeah.
make this the game.
Yeah.
And then
it
they
was
did
almost
that.
too much. It was too much of the game, but none of the elements that made the game work.
Because the costumes, so like if you haven't played the games, in Resident Evil 1, they have live action cutscenes.
Yeah.
Which are
And
really
they are
good.
terrible. And the costumes, like for the game characters, these little PlayStation 1 graphic sprites where you can't even see someone's face because it's blocky, the costumes look fine because they have colors and they stand out from the background.
They need to be broad. You know what I mean? So you can
Yeah.
tell.
But when you put actors in those same costumes in the cutscenes, it looks absolutely ridiculous.
Well, they're also like ill-fitting and
yeah, and you
Yeah.
have like a girl that has like shoulder pads out to here, and to like those are just bad. But so in this movie, they do a little bit of it, but they tone it down some because Jill's partner's wearing a vest that's kind of similar to the vest that they had in the first game.
stars. Yeah.
Oh man, and it looks terrible though,
Yes,
doesn't it?
yeah.
It looks like an outfit nobody would wear in real life.
yeah, exactly.
Is where it's like where it gets so weird, where
They-
it's I don't know, like they're taking things like too literally.
But then they have the stars, but then it's like, but that was the big thing in the first couple games. But then they have them in there, but they don't have any of the actual members of stars. So it's like, why even throw that in
Right.
there?
I forgot about stars.
Yeah, they just did that so Nemesis would chase him. It's like, but
And they did that entire thing just so he at some point would say stars
Yeah.
because he did in the game.
because the shoes.
So the fourth one, or we mentioned that, which is
No,
third one is Extinction,
Yes.
right? That's where the Mad
That's
Max,
the one that brings
they're
in
going to
Claire
Alaska.
Redfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which clip the actress Ally Larter is fine. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her.
Yeah.
The fourth one is
Afterlife.
Which is the Prison Break.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the one that has Chris Redfield.
Yeah.
Which is
and
the guy
Wesker.
from Prison Break.
Yeah.
and that is the more traditional Resident Evil. Where it's like, hey, we're in a place,
Yeah.
we have to
Right.
figure how to get to safety.
Oh,
you
she's
know?
got that gun that shoots quarters, and I was like, that's a great game mechanic, and then it's not from the
What?
game.
Yeah, what is that? What is that?
Yeah, they never
The
really.
shotgun?
Yeah, they never really explained.
I meant to
that.
Google that.
Just hilarious.
Yeah.
Just great.
I guess the
Yeah.
idea
I mean,
was that they didn't have enough munitions to actually make bullets, so they just
Yeah.
packed it with whatever was
Well,
available.
but I
It's
always
just like a
still
video
need
game when you kill,
gunpowder.
like so when
Yeah.
you kill somebody in a video game, coins pop out. So it's
Yeah, I like the idea that she because they like show that she has this hobby where she collects quarters. And then people
I
are like,
forgot
why
I
are you
missed
collecting?
that,
What's
yeah.
this about? And she's like, oh, it's just a hobby I have. And then later she pulls out the gun and starts shooting quarters
Yeah,
in
I
zombies'
missed
heads.
that
And I was like,
part.
nope, I love it. Love it. My favorite.
And then
Yeah.
they land the airplane on the roof, and then
Yeah.
the guy slam dunks the back of the
Which is
airplane.
great.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you find out later on. I guess he's a basketball star
Yeah.
or a football.
Well, then,
star.
because that's the one where she finds Claire in Alaska with the red spider heart thing.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all.
well, that's from Resident Evil 5.
Okay, so
That's why. Did you play 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played
Jill
5.
has it in 5.
yeah,
and you fight
it
Jill.
controls. It's a mind control.
Yeah.
on your chest.
But so they can. Here's
So
my-
obviously it makes total sense.
Because in this movie, in the fourth movie, she's got it on, but they do not appear to be able to control her.
Yeah.
They're like, she's got on a bug on her chest, but then she's also escaped, and I'm like, well, then it doesn't control
Oh, yes,
her?
yeah.
Or does it only have like a limited reach?
I have no clue because they don't explain it in the movies. And in the games, Wesker's like with her, so it's like, they don't explain it.
They show up again in 5,
Yeah.
but there they seem like they actually work.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like it's like with the iPhones with iOS or Android phones, they add new functionality. Maybe like version 10
She
has
needs
like
an
some new
update.
features.
She needs to run
At first, I didn't know that was Claire because like I don't know if that was the point or not. But you
They had
have
her kind of like dirty.
No, I think you're wrong.
Yeah, and then you like find out like 10 seconds later she's 100% clean in these clean clothes, and it's like okay,
Yeah.
and then, okay, that's Claire, that's who it is. And then they have Chris, but Claire lost her memory, so then there's no dynamic.
Again, this is people complain about this, but amnesia plot, which is the first one,
All of them.
her having amnesia,
Right.
which is kind of like an easy way of like building mystery without having to build it, and this one with Claire building mystery about the what is the name of the ship called that they're trying to get to?
Oh,
It's with an A.
You know what I mean? Like it's essentially an easy way to build that, like a shortcut.
I don't get that mad about a trope like amnesia because sometimes this is a movie that you shouldn't be caring
Yes,
that much
yeah.
about the plot. However, she's like, I don't remember. He's like, I'm your brother. Don't you remember? And she's like, no. And then that's it. That's the
Yes,
whole
yeah,
story.
yeah,
And
there's
I'm
no-
like, no, this
There's
should
no
have been.
like reunion of like
Yeah.
memory or
There's
Yeah,
no,
that's what I don't get.
yeah.
Why even bring that character? Why even have Chris in the? Why even name that character Chris to have
Right.
to be the brother to never have anything ever
just
happen?
because they're in the game.
Yeah.
you
Just-
know, it's like
they could have done like
it's a weird
Resident-
thing. I'm not saying Alice is not a great character, but it's like they've had to shoehorn all this stuff in because they started with a main character that wasn't in any of the games,
Right.
and they've kept with the main character because they like working together and
Right.
you know what I mean. Like,
I love Mila Jovovich.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm
much.
saying. Like, I
She's
don't
fantastic
blame
in all
them,
these movies.
but they kind of already
like,
started on the wrong
yeah.
path when it's like, hey, it would have been nice if you just would have made her like one of the characters from
Right.
the game and did
Well,
something.
then,
Yeah.
so you have like the big
Have
fight
her Rebecca
scene.
Chambers.
You have a big
That's
fight scene with
underutilized.
Wesker and Alice and Chris and Claire.
But
And I think wasn't that fight mostly from one of the games with like Chris and Wesker or something?
I mean, here's
Because I watched some video like a year ago that broke down the similarities.
It's
in the
kind
movies
of
and
like
games.
between the Code Veronica fight because he's just overmatched because Wesker's got all the superpower stuff, which that's where Resident Evil starts getting convoluted.
And we're still talking about the prison one, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
because they fight in the ship at the very
Right.
end.
Oh,
and he's
yeah,
in the
yeah.
white-
They bring the dogs back again.
Yeah, but then he makes a line. Wesker's like, "Well, this is Chris Redfield or Chris and Claire Redfield. Y'all been a thorn in my side." It's like, but you've given us no reason for why
Yes,
they've been
yeah.
a thorn in your side because
Well, and Chris has been locked up in a prison.
Yeah,
in
for how long?
in a glass jail cell in
Yeah,
the
for who knows how
basement of
long.
a prison
He's
for.
been in the Hannibal Lecter cell.
Yeah. Who's been feeding him? How long has he been down there? What are you talking about? He's like, oh, I was a guard.
Well,
they just shoved me in here. I'm like,
yeah.
that's a lie. That's got to be a lie.
Yeah.
But then it's not. That's just what happened.
But then too, Wesker is very
Sorry.
much on a trip of being Agent Smith from
Well,
the Matrix.
oh, yeah, which
the
is beautiful.
Because like Wesker,
Mrs. Redfield.
he was in 3 in a very small role, just like in a cameo, pretty much as far as like just talking to the other Umbrella
Yeah.
people. So he's set up as like the big bad in 4. But you haven't, if you didn't know the video game franchise, you have no idea who the hell this guy is.
Yeah. So in the first game too, the thing that was cool about the first game is you start playing it and he's one of your STARS members. He's on your team with you.
Yeah.
You go in this mansion, then you suddenly find out, oh wait, he works for Umbrella.
bad guy.
He's somebody on the inside, and then he has like Barry, another like good, like a really good guy, but he has him like blackmailed
Blackmailed by his
essentially
family.
about his family. Like there's actually some decent story. Like
Yeah.
it's internal team intrigue where it's not like 50 million characters coming from all different directions.
Yeah.
So ideally, you think as a character, maybe he's a little suspicious, but like he's never seems any sort of like likable at all
Now
in
wait,
these
I've already
films
forgotten.
or nothing.
Is Wesker Jorah Mormont or is he the other?
he's the guy with the glasses.
The
Yeah.
blonde with the
Yeah.
glasses.
Yeah, because there was
Okay.
never like Wesker. It was kind of developed into big bad. It's like, okay, he's the leader. He's kind of the cool mystery guy, and then you find out, okay, he's the traitor. But there was something there.
Yes,
This one is
yeah.
just like he's in an ill-fitting suit, and then he has him in the butt.
He is a trope. Yeah, just the guy with the sunglasses that's the bad
And
guy.
then he gets the T virus, and then his mouth is
What's
the
the-
demon mouth now.
And that's you see now that came from Resident Evil 4.
Okay.
When they implemented that's the video game where they implemented Las Plagas.
I forgot because number 4 is the beautiful one where at the beginning they take away her superpowers.
Yes.
She's a normal human woman,
But see,
and then at the end she's kicking plates of glass into
Yes.
Yeah.
to
But I
split
love
with
that.
her.
I'm glad you brought
It's
that up
amazing.
because my wife and me were watching it, and she's like, thank you for making me human again. She's that's the dumbest dialogue I've ever heard. And then right after that happens, the wrecked airplane, Wesker shoots through the windshield. She's right behind him, and then she gets up and she's fine. And it's like, wait,
normal human woman.
I wish I would have been able to see this one in 3D. I wish I'd been able to see this in 3D because I probably would appreciate a lot of that.
Yeah.
I thought maybe the needle was going to fly and hit her, put her back, but it was nothing.
But she inherited the Brad Pitt gene because wasn't it World War Z where he's in a plane that crashes and he's fine? Because
I haven't seen World War Z.
Yeah, that's right. Because the plane flies directly into the mountain and she's fine.
You think about what they do to Wesker in 4. Okay, they shoot him and hit the shotgun, blow his head off, okay, or most 3/4 of it. Then Chris and Claire shoot him about 73 times.
Right.
Then he lived through that, okay?
Yep.
Then he gets in an airplane and they blow the airplane up. Okay, so he's done. Then in 6, jump 2 movies, the way they kill him is with a grenade and cut his legs off. It's like,
no,
wait
a door.
A door cuts his legs off, you blow him with a grenade, but you'd shoot his head off, you blow the plane up, and he lives.
Wait, is this the same? Is he not a clone in the 6th one?
No,
I assume
he's the only one that is the
okay.
same all the way through.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you. I mean,
Something else, too, they drew inspiration from, which I think it was the beginning of 4. Which one? Does 4 start out in like a normal Japanese city and then a bomb goes off? Because it's very much the bomb from Akira. I don't know if you've seen Akira.
Yeah.
The visualization of it is exactly the same. Like it's kind of quiet and it grows out.
Right.
That's the exact same thing from Akira, which is
when he blows up the hive.
something. Yeah.
3.
I know that other reference. You know?
So the 4th movie they had that fight.
Right.
And then the 5th movie.
I like the bathroom stuff in 4. When they're fighting the big guy with a hammer.
Yeah. That is a great scene.
Yeah,
and that's a character that I know makes sense in the games, but in this movie, the butcher guy just shows up out of nowhere.
He seems like he's out of Silent Hill also. But also the scene where she's about to take a shower and then you realize there's just a creepy guy and then he gets killed. Like all that stuff's good. I like the bathroom scene.
Because I know it makes sense in the games, but I really like because in this movie, these big bad guys exist just because scientists are like dicking around trying to make like people to fight in like wars or whatever. They're trying to make like the perfect soldier. But I just like the idea that these scientists are bored. They're like, oh, let's give this one like a butcher theme.
Yeah, it's got
like,
scientists
let's
that
give this one a
also
theme.
work at a haunt. You know, like it works at haunted houses also. They're like, hey, what if we did this?
Like, oh, what if we put like a thing over his head and he carries around a giant axe? That could be fun, right? That's fun.
Well, too, like, you know, in these movies with like the Nemesis and stuff, it shows the Umbrella Corporation controlling them, having like the first person view through their eyes and watching the screens. So that takes away any level of fear factor there was or scariness because it's like, oh, it's just like a RoboCop deal.
Right.
Because when you play the games, a big creature coming after you that can kill your character and make you lose all this progress is scary in a game. But in the real world, when you're like, oh, all these are just controlled mechanisms by this corporation, and you know where they're coming from and what their story is, it's not that scary.
I wonder if the lack of scares is what made this so successful also. I'm going to talk about financially. When I say successful, you know, like in foreign markets and stuff, like is there was like a less of a barrier when it's like, hey, this is more action than horror. Yeah. So this is not going to deter, because some people won't go see horror. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if that was that right. I mean, like, he got the right angle on this film to make this franchise.
I think that they, from like the first, I think from the second movie on, they kind of geared it towards the Chinese market.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're like, let's make it a big, dumb action movie that doesn't require a lot of pre-knowledge. We'll have relatively bare bones plot. We'll have character dialogue that doesn't really go above like a middle school, high school vocabulary level.
Yeah.
And you don't really need to follow the story. You just get to see...
it doesn't matter if you translate anything really well.
Yes.
I just was looking, one of the movies made like, it would cost like 40, I don't even remember which one it was. It cost like 40 million to make, and it made 20 million in America, and then it made 220 million worldwide.
That was the last one.
Yeah.
Or the last one made $26 million in the U.S., the final chapter, $320-something million worldwide.
Okay, right.
And it's like, that's ridiculous.
That's
$7 of that was me.
Yeah.
When I was free one day, I love it.
Yeah, that's what you can watch. I haven't seen all of them, but I just watch it like that.
This is not for America, is what they're
So if you add up all the
but it's so weird because it's an American-made product. You know what I mean? It's an export. That's all it is.
So what's funny is, not to go too on the digression, Derek, with this, but the X-Men Dark Phoenix, so the last movie of that iteration of X-Men, made less internationally than Resident Evil: The Final Chapter.
Yeah.
And you would have never thought that unless you looked at the numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of makes sense because this is a huge. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. This is like this has been a popular like franchise for years. I mean, I guess they've been doing.
But there's no resets. The X-Men is so muddy. It's like, how many are they resetting things?
I forgot that Dark Phoenix movie even came out.
I would say the Resident Evil though was never like each movie kind of reset itself because like the only
but that's to its benefit, I think.
But then they bring back things like the jelly. I'm sorry. The dog. I call them jelly dogs, but. Because in the first movie, I don't know if we talked about that they like the dogs kept licking whatever makeup they put off, so they ended up covering them in like jelly and stuff. And I just think it's beautiful. I just love the idea of like a Doberman Pinscher wandering around on set being like covered in jelly, just like, hey guys, that tastes great.
And like all the actors and wards are like, no, don't touch him, don't touch him.
No. He just like shakes in the middle of the set and jelly goes everywhere.
In 4, it had its first Marvel like post-credit stinger. Because at the end of the movie, you have your first little roll of credits, then you get a cutscene with Jill Valentine in what you call the boob suit, because her boobs are pushed all the way up to her face.
Man, it's
with
stupid.
Which is exactly what she wore in Resident Evil 5.
Oh yeah, but it's still stupid.
Yeah, it's still stupid. But they had the thing on her chest, and then she has like a little talks about going to war or whatever, and then the 5 starts off right where that left.
Right.
So that's like the only one where they take place directly after. But in 5, we know what the thing on the chest does. We know it's mind control. But they forget about that. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this, Jill? And it's like, but you just went through this in the last
the beginning of 5, when she's doing like a little monologue, she's like, they even brainwashed my friend Jill.
Yeah, but then they forget about that in the movie, and she's like, why are you doing this? Why don't you? And it's like, but you just...
I guess she was trying to reason, like, to give them the benefit of the doubt. She was trying to, maybe if you could get her enough, bring up memories and bring up stuff, she could overpower it.
The only thing I liked about 5 was that they brought back most of the original cast.
I did enjoy that.
Yeah.
And they had the 2 Michelle Rodriguez's, which I thought was kind of fun. You had the good one and the bad one. But then they killed the good one. And I do like that they kind of, that brought something back a little bit. I
enjoyed it.
Well, I like too just the mix up of like, hey, we can do whatever. So it's like, here's almost an opening scene from the Dawn of the Dead remake. You know what I mean? Like with her in the house having a normal family.
The little girl with the
I like that they were just kind of going off the wall with some of that.
And that's one of those fun things where they were just, what I read on the internet is that they were just like auditioning children and they were like, this girl is so good, we're casting her and we're just writing the hearing thing in.
Yeah, I saw that.
But which I thought was cool.
Because I thought I was like, that's like a little nuanced thing. I'm surprised he put that in there. You know what I mean? Like they wrote it in there, but that makes more sense.
Like I was watching this, like Julie was going in and out and she's like, this is really bad. But then at one point, like, you're talking about it, and I was like, yeah, I wonder if that girl actually had hearing impairment, and if that was...
We looked it up, because I was like, that is problematic if she's... Because they have her, like, using, like, a weird voice. Yeah. Like, it's kind of odd.
So I need to go home and tell Julie, it's like, no, they did not have a child with no hearing impairments. Like, that was actually, like, so that makes more sense, and that I'm fully okay with. The only problem is a lot of movies up until recently would throw stuff like that in there and then have people act it up just to give them something to have as like to amp up the plot.
Now, I think number 5 might secretly be my favorite because number 5 is the one where they reveal essentially that Umbrella has perfected the cloning process and that they build these hugely elaborate underground thing, like neighborhoods. They build entire cities full of cloned human beings. And they're like, you know what we're going to do with this? Sell a virus. I'm like, you've perfected, you've given these people fake memories. You have essentially created immortality. And it is your marketing department. You need to fire everybody in the marketing department.
And they use the clones just for slaughter for the simulations.
Like, there are so many
real emotion.
and they're also like, I'm sorry, this is one of my favorite dumb bits, is that like, there's a point where there's a gas truck and she shoots it. And I was like, it's going to be funny because it's going to be full of water. No, it is full of gas.
They commit.
They are like bussing down like New York City taxi cabs into this like Russian.
Just the underground, like you could have built so many underground cities and developments and like land. Land value is expensive now. Like imagine making an underground.
And two, like if they really wanted, like this is an area like where they were doing like these simulations. If they really wanted to placate the fans, have the simulations be some of the big set pieces from the games and give them stuff you didn't give them straight up before. That seems like it writes itself.
Yeah, if you had followed the more traditional route of the games, you could have done You know, like you could have had the Spencer Mansion, you could have had the police station, then you could have had, you know, you could have done like we're in Resident Evil 4 where they're over in Europe. You could have done a bunch of different stuff that could have been really visually cool and maybe a little different.
But also, too, each one is a new set, new cost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Probably,
it's just all...
They already had that Tokyo stuff from the other movie, and they would reference that.
They were probably writing it around what sets Sony had on their lots they could utilize. Well, which, I understand.
What I do love, though, is they're like, okay, we haven't had Leon Kennedy in this yet. We haven't had, you know, we need another...
We haven't had Leon in his hair.
So they had Leon Kennedy, they had Barry Burton, and then they had
Ada Wong.
They had Ada Wong, and then they had, but I'm talking about as far as the group that went through, they had Ada Wong, and then you had the guy that survived number 4 for whatever reason. They decided to let him live.
Yeah, the basketball player.
Yeah, and he's in there. So it's like he's in this group. And then it's like, but then they look like cosplay again, because like they just had, all right, Resident Evil 4 came out a couple years ago, you're going to look just like that. And they had Barry Burton in a Stars uniform, but he's not in Stars.
Well, no, this movie was 2012.
2012?
Resident Evil 4 had been...
2004 when that came out.
So it's been a long time.
So the point of like Leon, like in this movie, his hair was a bit unrealistic. Like the long, you know, guy bangs or whatever.
The original Leon, I think, was based off Leonardo DiCaprio. Also, the original. So Leon that's in this movie.
I don't remember which one Leon is.
So Leon had like a brown like bomber jacket.
Was he the white guy?
He was the white guy with the long hair.
Okay.
So, but originally, I think so that's what he looks like in the 4th game.
Oh, okay.
He was in the 2nd game, but he also has the butt cut. But I think he was based on Leonardo DiCaprio when they designed the character model.
When Leonardo DiCaprio had that.
Yeah, like in like Titanic era.
Because the game came out in 1996, right?
Well, the 2nd game, 98.
98. Okay, yeah, because it was right after we got a PlayStation.
Yeah.
So it's funny.
He has a haircut that Leo had in the mid-90s in this movie, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right.
Because they made it in the game.
Yeah, because what was it? The first game was 95, and then the
96.
sequel was...
96.
Or 90, okay, it's 96 and 98. Mm-hmm. Okay, I keep forgetting all these
96,
years.
98, 99.
But, like, the movies, like I said, the funny thing is it just seems like they made the first movie in 2002, and it seemed like these sequels, you know, even though there was a decade between some of them, that they made them all in the same year because they have the same kind of, like I said, rock music under everything.
Yeah.
I did not like the music in 4, but I actually liked the music quite a bit in 5.
But
the end of it, there was some stuff at the end.
Yeah.
only reason I did, because 4, I was like, this music is terrible in 4. And then 5, like the last fight scene, there was something like, actually, this is like a huge step up at least. You know, maybe it's because I had just like paid attention to how bad 4's music was.
Up to the streets.
5, I was like, hey, this is actually... I kind of like this.
Well, and 2, like something else this series has gotten a little bit of flack for is it's, like we said, they have the costumes for the women that don't make a lot of sense.
And they tend to be skimpy, and I know it's
for titillation.
Right.
They have like the one black character is kind of stereotypical mid-90s action role you would have in a movie.
Yeah.
Well, you got that from 2 to 3, and then
and then
even with the one guy in the 4 and 5.
Yeah.
But he was a little bit more of a. It was interesting because he was an actor, but he wasn't played as like a Johnny Cage type where he's like, oh, it's supposed to be a badass on screen.
Right.
You know, so they actually made him like, he's just a hero. But then the producer was the one that was like the asshole. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was interesting that they just made the actor like, hey, this is a good guy. And he's like a badass also.
Yeah. So too, but like, I think it's one of those things where you just go, it's like, okay, we need to have a comic relief character.
Yeah.
Let's balance this casting out a little bit and get somebody that's not white. But then in doing that, a lot of times you pigeonhole people into doing like very specific, similar things. But you know, like it's also from like 2004 and over the years, like it's funny they did keep a lot of the same feeling though.
Oh yeah, I mean this like we said earlier, like it feels like it's the same movie. Like the aesthetics the same, the music. Like you said, like they watched Blade, they watched Matrix, it's the aesthetic they made for over a decade.
I would just love to be able to sit in a room and like have them talk about like, hey, what decisions were made for the Chinese market? Like, you know, at what point were they like, hey, and like, what was that process on each movie when they started production? Like, hey, what do we need to make sure we hit, or where do we need to go, and what do we need to pull back, and what do we need to lean into? You know what I mean? Like because. It's going to be interesting if Monster Hunter is solely made for the Chinese market.
Because
you know, if that film is like made for like Screw America, what that film's going to be, because it is a restart. They don't, you know, they can change aesthetic, everything. Like, what is that film going to be, and how are they building that film out Versus when they made the first Resident Evil, that wasn't designed for the worldwide, the international markets necessarily. But this film probably will be designed for international markets.
And Resident Evil 1 felt more true to like horror than any other ones. Because outside of that, like 2 was so vastly just out there.
Well, I mean, it does the same thing that a lot, like, so you have the zombies in, was it 1, 2, and 3 that are normal T-virus zombies?
Right.
Was it in the 4th movie where they started introducing the Plagas virus with the mouth?
But they never stated that, though.
Well, they just...
Because and the first one, the lickers show up.
Yeah.
Which are monsters that the scientists created, right? They're not just mutated T-virus. It's like a whole separate thing.
Well, I think in the game, it's like somebody who
specify.
Like in Resident Evil 2, the remake, like if somebody got the T-virus and it would manipulate some people that way.
Yeah, because they introduced like the idea that there are giant monsters in the first one.
Yeah.
But I don't, I don't think they introduced the idea that until that Wesker gets that weird mouth thing.
Yeah.
That happens at the end of 3. He injects himself and turns into a big giant tentacle monster and kills a bunch of scientists.
And 3 came out, 2007?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because in 2, they kind of backdoor their way into stuff. So when Dr. Isaac, the Jorah Mormont character, when he transformed, he looked kind of like the William Birkin monster or the modified version of the Tyrant or whatever from Resident Evil 2 at the end. Regardless, they backdoor their way into some of the game imagery later on in a way that doesn't match up with that, which I was fine with. Whatever way you want to get to that. So it's always scientists doing something with the.
It's also my favorite. In all of these movies, they treat scientists like they are like an unending resource. He's just literally constantly like shooting scientists, and I'm like, stop it.
Yeah.
The people are dying. There's like 4,000 people left in the entire world, and you're just
wasting people's lives.
You're just wasting scientists.
Yeah.
Who are the only people who are going to be able to stop any of this?
In 4, they have kind of the scene like Bub from Day of the Dead, where they're like they have the zombie
cool.
with with the blocks. Remember, he's putting blocks in there. I don't know if you remember. But essentially, they're in there, and I'm like, oh, that's like Bub from Day of the Dead. And then something happens, and he gets mad because he can't get in, and then so he locks the scientist and just lets him die. And I was like, that's the exact same thing I was thinking. I'm like, dude, how many scientists do you have that know how to do this stuff, that have followed this research?
Yeah, he's like, if you fail, I will kill you. I'm like, you're just going to kill all your science. You're going to start with the smartest one and then end up with the dumbest one, and none of them are going to be able to do it.
So then, we
got an extra death scene out of all those.
Yeah, so the 5th movie ends with Wesker's the one that's helping her for some reason
On top of the White House.
Then once they get out of Russia, they get to the White House. You got Leon Kennedy, Ada Wong, Jill Valentine, Alice, Wesker, very comic booky looking,
and her clone daughter that she rescued.
Oh boy,
and that's how 5 ends, and then 6. It's kind of like Kanye West. It's like, I'm going to let you finish, but we don't want to do any of that stuff. So
White House is destroyed when that film opens.
So they never explicitly state what happened to the other characters in the movie. It's never referenced. They never talk about it.
That little girl is dead, right?
Yeah.
She's dead.
I mean, they're all dead.
They blew her up, right?
But they never say it. They don't ever even reference it.
It's an Aliens to Alien 3 situation.
So I had read up on, I was like, well, what happened to these characters? Because they just never reference some of these characters again. And there's novelizations where they specify that Leon died, and like pretty much everybody that's not in the movie is dead.
Yeah.
So everybody died in different horrible ways.
Sure. I just said.
I wonder how those novelizations read. If they read like a horror, or if they read like
yada yada yada.
Or they read like these movies.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't understand why you go through all the trouble of introducing these characters from the game that really don't fit anything to just kill them off.
Because they'll sell tickets. Hey, Leon's gonna be in the 5th one. Okay, cool. We don't want Leon in the next one.
But then, so the 6th one, so like the 4th and 5th had the more like longer take choreographed fight scenes, a lot of CG. But it was more choreographed. You could see everything. It was nice, crisp cinematography. You're sitting here watching a stable version of the fight.
Well, also, those are, I guess the last one was 3D also, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, the 5th one's 3D because at the end fight, they're throwing stuff at the camera every 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They leaned into that, so.
But then the 6th one, when it starts out, I think like the timing is 2016, so it seems kind of late, but they were very inspired by the Paul Greengrass Bourne Identity series fights. Of the shaky handheld close-up moving camera quick edits where you can take a fight scene between, because there's the one point where Alice fights the one Asian guy. That is a 59-second fight with 118 cuts.
Yeah.
So they.
I didn't understand what happened in any of that. I saw them fighting. I was like, I understand they're fighting, but who's doing what?
So like I was wondering, like I have no clue. Like I don't know if maybe like if it was just a cost cutting measure to cut down the shooting schedule, like or maybe if she had a kid recently or something and they didn't want to delay stuff to do all the choreographed fight scenes. I'm not sure what happened.
Somebody got injured or you know what I mean?
Injured
or they added it, they wrote it in like, hey, we need to shoot this next week.
I mean, they shot the entire movie like that though, because like I'm thinking maybe it was like a cost cutting measure just to trim down the shooting schedule. Because there's the point in the beginning where she gets snared up in the trap by her foot.
Right. I love that dumb scene. But that's a blast.
Like it's cool what's going on, but it's kind of nonsense because you can't tell like, wait a minute, what? So
what is any of this? Why do they have these?
Yeah, actually, one of the cooler scenes in the franchise was in 6 when she's walking by the Great Lawn or whatever, wherever the big water fountain thing is, and a zombie crawls out and gets caught by the barbed wire.
Yeah,
that's kind of a good scene.
Well, and then also I'm like, isn't that the reflection pool like maybe 2.5 feet deep? Like, there's no way that zombie was in there.
and it's too. It's one of those things where like the fight scenes, like 4 and 5, she did all the stunts and scenes. So like, I don't understand why they didn't do it in the next one.
She's definitely still doing a lot of the stunts, but they are shot differently. It's or it looks like she's still doing a lot of the stunts.
Yeah, I would assume it was her. I mean, I think it's just interesting because like if you look on IMDb, a lot of the reviews are complaining about the movie being too shaky and too dark.
It did seem dark, but I honestly thought my TV was.
You said they changed it to the red camera. Maybe it was a situation of those other ones where when they were doing 3D, they needed bigger cameras.
So I'm pretty
and they were like, hey, we can't be as mobile. And now they're like, hey, we can be mobile.
So
let's just.
I was looking it up. So, like, it was very easy to tell. I think the first 4 movies were shot on film because there's, like, film grain and it looks more filmic and the quality holds up. The 5th one was shot on an HD camera for 3D, and then the last one was shot on a red camera. Not that matters to the general public. It just seems like that's a little bit more modular, smaller camera you can hold.
Yeah.
So they probably did more handheld and said, okay, instead of doing, like a 4-day session of shooting this one action scene, let's just shake it up and cut it into bits, and we can knock this out in one day.
Yeah.
Because there was stuff at the end when it was Alice fighting Dr. Isaac, and I'm like, I can't tell what's going on here. Like, this is...
Well, my thing, too, is like this entire film franchise, with the exception of 1, is 2 through 6, the big bad's a white blonde-headed dude. And that's the bad guys in every single movie. Like now, 5, the big fight scene had Michelle Rodriguez, the evil girl.
Yeah. Which I liked when the bullets came out of her hands, when it went in her body, came out of her fingertips. That was
like the second one. The big bad was kind of the nemesis,
but it was the guy. But it was the guy controlling the nemesis, which was another blonde-haired. Which it was kind of like they didn't want to do Wesker. Yeah. So they used enough guys that just shared his
same vibe.
Yeah, the same vibe, but they never actually went full Wesker until they did. But it's like, then why did you still have all these characters? Why didn't you use Wesker from the beginning instead of having all these guys that mimicked him and looked like him?
Well, it's a really odd thing where you have all these games as like the material you can draw from if you want to just, utilize the stories, and they utilize parts of it but change all the names and then retcon it over and over and over. It's like, I don't really understand.
And they change, like the lady who plays Jill Valentine in the first movie is different than the lady who does it in that cutscene at the end of the other movie, is a completely different actress than the lady who actually plays her in number 5. Like they recast.
Yeah, I was wondering because I didn't see that post credit scene before, but I recently watched 3, 4, and 5. And in 5 with her, I was like, I don't remember her looking like this. So I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was like, I'm not trying to... The lady who plays her in the second movie is much bustier than the lady who plays her in the cutscene, who is clearly a completely different woman who the woman who plays her actually in the next movie, which I think is beautiful and also like ridiculous.
So the actress who played Jill Valentine in Apocalypse is Sienna Guillory, but she's in Afterlife.
Which one's that? Because she's probably in some.
Afterlife is in that'll be the post credits one, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering though, because like there was people on the cast list that were listed in being like all these movies. Right. It's just in the cutscenes.
In the cutscenes, I was like, I'm sure she's in some
flashbacks.
Of those cutscenes.
They showed so many flashback footage from these films. That's probably what it is.
Like Michelle Rodriguez is credited in almost all of them, even though she's only really in the 2.
Because it shows her as being on the cast list for Retribution. is Jill Valentine.
Again, they probably showed.
I really don't think it is her.
Every movie.
I might be wrong.
Every one of those movies starts out with like.
Well, they gave her blonde hair that was long.
So many years ago, the Umbrella Corporation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They show all the clips of what happened.
And then they have like where she's filming stuff and talking about it, but that never goes anywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
yeah, because the second movie has them getting the footage and releasing it. So, like, it's really funny and hand-wavy because they get the footage that they release online or they release to the public that shows what happened in Raccoon City. But then they immediately get discredited as fake news and it gets put to the wayside. And then everybody goes back to normal.
And then the apocalypse happens.
And then it spreads everywhere and kills everybody, so it doesn't matter. Like, why did they go through all the trouble of covering the PR if it's all just going to... But then you watch the sixth movie, and the plan was to infect the planet all along. So it makes... These prior movies make no sense.
Yeah.
Why did they go to the hive and try to stop it? Why did Umbrella try to contain the city and control it? Why did they try to get her blood to stop the mutation? There's all these things that make no sense.
Did their plan change, though?
No,
because it shows Dr. Isaacs from the very
that's right.
beginning.
Yeah, from the very
his plan.
beginning. Yeah.
right.
It shows him give the monologue.
Then you find out that Alice is a clone of the person that they originally made the T-virus for.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense because that undercuts what Resident Evil Apocalypse was about because there was the same storyline there.
I think you guys are confused because you think that he
Thought things
thought
out.
any
Yeah, I
at
know.
all about
Yeah, if you go watch it, if you
Yeah.
watch them, like if I just watch them periodically through years, I wouldn't have caught it. But since I've binge watched all of them, like,
Yeah,
wait a
yeah,
minute,
yeah.
this one did all
These
that.
very much follow in the tradition of sequels from the 80s and 90s where you really don't care about continuity. You
Yeah.
make a movie, and then you make another one, and it may not match up that well, and then you make another one, and you don't really care.
But it makes
these
sense.
came out in a post like Spider-Man 1 and 2 world where they did have continuity.
And you had the same. Most of the time that happened, though, you would lose your.
Well,
lead.
it came out the same. The first two movies, Resident Evil 1 and 2, were the same years as Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2.
But you get the same lead actors throughout. And you also had multiple characters return as their characters throughout, too. So, like, you talk about these 80s and 90s movies, you know, like, you had the Batman franchise that had multiple different Batmans.
Yeah,
that
I mean, it's kind of like Batman movies.
But
you just had.
But the only
Michael Keaton
difference
in all of them.
is, you would have
Yeah.
one through character or multiple through characters throughout. 'Cause
No,
they
they did.
You might think
Alfred.
like a James Bond.
But the world never resets. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, I think basically just having that same lead actress and the world never
So-
resetting
Right.
is for some reason, and all those other little special elements is what made this
But, yeah, like,
series be
the
like nothing else.
The
in this
reason
era.
the world was destroyed changes a few times.
Yes, yeah.
So through all these movies, like, is there any scenes that you think about, like, you know, because some of these movies are pretty forgettable, but then you have certain. Is there any scenes that stick out in any of the movies you're like that makes that worth watching?
I mean, the elevator scene is what I think about in the first one.
Oh yeah.
You know, I remember thinking that was cool.
The elevator scene where all the zombies come out of the elevator.
Her head is in it going up.
Yeah.
Oh,
down.
yeah, that's-
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Like the standard horror scene was just the office workers.
Yes, yeah. That,
I think the first one is the one that has the most because the dogs too.
Yeah, the net,
and
like a
stuck
head
in
song.
there.
the
song
laser,
scene.
because
Yeah.
the laser
Yeah.
scene, when you have the badass special forces leader who's jumping over the lasers and dodging through and doing all this stuff, and then the last one comes and it seems like he's able to do it again, and it just splits into a grid where there's no way.
Yeah.
Which I love that because you have the one dude gets cut in half, the one woman gets her head cut off, then he gets cubed up. So that's all pretty good. And then you have where they walk by the big water tank and all the zombies are floating by
Yeah.
and they drain it and you have the axe. That was good.
Yeah.
And then the next most memorable scene to me is maybe not till 6 when Ruby Rose is in it and she gets sucked up into the fan.
Oh man, I really like the crows. The idea that there are zombie animals, which they don't really. I mean, I guess there's the dogs, but they just ignore all of the other animals in the world. But those crows really got me. I think that
Yeah.
scene's
That was
cool,
pretty
where
cool.
she comes
Actually-
and then just like.
Because wasn't
Actually, there was some that came out
scene?
also in like think the airplane in 4. She opens it and there's crows that comes out too. But that got my wife because
yeah.
like she was watching it. It was like she was those crows came
the
out. But
crows
yeah, they're
are
all
always-
in 3.
Like such a villain in the games.
Yeah,
Oh, is it? I
they're
assumed it-
terrifying in the game
Yeah.
because they just swoop down. And there only be like 2 or 3 in the game, but you know every time they come out, they're going to ding off your help. So you're just like running, and if you're aiming, you cannot hardly shoot them. It's just like they're the same sort of fear, which is the one thing that's like sort of similar.
Well, it's like the thing, a big difference from like a game and a movie. In the game, a lot of these creatures are scary because of the damage they deal.
Right.
And the early games were not ones where you could save any time. You had to get a ink ribbon and go to a typewriter to save. So sometimes you can have 30 minutes pass between saves.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you lose that progress,
tension.
you're like, oh, I've got to start 30 minutes back.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't have a lot of tension. It's just jump scares. You know,
Right.
it's jump scares. All the horror stuff is jump scares or gore specific
But
things.
there's not a
really.
whole lot of gore in these movies.
No,
like
it's not over the top.
Yeah,
at
It's a lot
all.
of digital gore, too.
Yeah, but because they're all rated R, but when you go and look at it, a lot of times you're like, is it just rated R because it's zombies?
There's people getting cut in half.
There's
Because
blood.
There's blood. People getting cut in half. There's no.
There's violence against human
Yeah.
beings,
Now,
which I
in-
know usually gets you
In
over an R.
6, they revisit the hive, but they kind of changed up because at one part they're going through the air duct and they get dropped into the room with all the dismembered bodies with the chainsaws.
Right.
Now, what was that? Because I was like expecting.
I haven't watched that one all the way through
Yeah.
since I watched a little bit of it last night, but I don't remember.
I assumed they were going to make a reference to the idea that like this is where like the butcher guy came from,
Yeah,
or I forget
that's-
what those characters are.
But then the
named.
creature they fight in there has
nothing.
nothing to do
Yeah.
with the chainsaw. So I was kind of expecting like. So I'm like, but that wasn't even in the first movie, so I thought that was kind of weird. And it's like
This is also where they reveal that they can cryogenically freeze people, and I'm like, you're not selling that. How are you not selling that technology?
Yeah.
And instead, you're like, oh, China, you can blow up Russia, and Russia, you can blow up China. I'm like, no, just sell the cryogenic chambers.
So yeah, they have all these other inventions that have just been way better to get.
Yeah, I'm just saying the marketing team all fired because that's really what it fails
They just kept
at.
killing all of them. Off.
Yeah, I don't know. None of the movies are. Here's the thing. I know this doesn't really count. I think Mila Jovovich looks beautiful in number 3 and number 6, and I think she looks like shit in number 2. No, I'm sorry. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. Obviously,
Yes,
she's
yeah.
a very famous actor. But like in number 3, she looks amazing in like every single shot. And then in number 6, I was like, damn, girl, I don't know what they're doing with like her hair or her
Yeah.
makeup or just like her lighting, but she looks beautiful in like 90% of these shots.
Well, because there was the one of them with all the clones where it had like a lot of, I think it was that one where it had like a lot of like tight shots on her face and stuff, where they just had like done a lot of makeup work and stuff and lighting.
Yeah. I mean, obviously she's gorgeous.
Yeah, and that's why very naturally attractive or pretty
like,
and
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying like the way they shot it was very glamorous.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
no, no,
yeah.
no,
To like a little bit
Yeah.
more harsh and natural
Yeah.
than some of the other ones.
Yeah, there is there's this great story that I read on the internet. Is it Ultraviolet that she's in? The other
I believe so.
Yeah, there's a beautiful story. I think it's in Ultraviolet where the director is like, there's like a bunch of fight scenes, and the director was like, Mila, I want you to hit me as hard as you're hitting. He was unhappy with her performance, and he was like, I want you to hit me as hard as you're hitting the stuntman. And she punched him in the nose, and he walked around set with a like black eye for like the next 3 weeks, and
Oh
she
my
was
God.
like, I'll show you. And so now she works almost exclusively with her husband on like,
Oh my
like I
gosh,
mean,
yeah.
she's in like a lot of other stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, we'll take like,
I think she could fit into a John Wick movie.
Oh yeah.
Like she should. Yeah.
I just
well, because like I think that another thing that makes some of those like the last movie, Final Chapter, stand out in comparison to more modern movies is that was post John Wick 1. And it's like the John Wick movies are the fluid action following through Atomic Blonde, all these movies like these fluid action. And then it's kind of jarring to go back to Resident Evil Final Chapter. They kind of took it back to the mid 2000s with the chopped up fight scenes. Because they did those
Sure.
like the Taken movies did those because Liam Neeson's 60. And
right.
you know, he's probably in better shape than I am, but a lot of times some of that stuff you just don't want your actor with the face you're on camera doing all that stuff.
To
So
like,
if you cut it into a million pieces, because I think Taken 3 was infamous. There's a scene where Liam Neeson jumps a fence and it's 15 cuts for him to jump a fence.
yeah.
And it's just like...
I wonder if there's a different editor, or do you think it's all, you think it's the Anderson, or you think like they got new editors or new cinematographers or whatever?
I think it was probably driven by like shooting schedule.
Yeah,
like they decided
probably.
because like when we've even shot our own stuff, if you're going to do something in one take, there's a lot more writing on it. And if you're doing a longer take of something with action, there's a lot writing on it. But if you're going to cut it up into 6 pieces, you don't even have to have your actual actors to be the one doing it. Because if
Right.
you're just showing arms and legs and torsos and just get like tight shots on their face, you can cut stuff up and make it look pretty good that was nothing when you shot
So
it.
after having watched like all these movies, because we, you know, what's your like overall opinion of the franchise? Like,
Mine?
How do you feel about it?
I don't know. Like, I get it, but it's like not my, this is like just not my cup of tea that like, I don't watch a lot of zombies because they are very scary to me.
Yeah.
I don't
Are
like
they
zombies.
scary in this at all to you?
Not particularly,
Yeah, I
because
know.
almost, except for the first one, the zombies are such a small, like, they're so small of a like, you know, the real threat is Umbrella.
Well, the zombies will be either worthless and they're just out here. You can kill a wave of them with a bar of soap, or they sneak up silently and kill like a main character.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. They're only formidable when they need them to be.
Right. But I don't know. I'm like Shaun of the Dead is, if anything, maybe scarier. The zombies in Shaun of the Dead terrify me because they're just like, it's like, oh God, your cousin is now a zombie and is going to eat you. That very much upsets me. I don't like it. It gives me nightmares.
What about you, Sean?
The only reason I watched these initially is just one, it was a zombie movie. It was a new zombie movie. I liked those. And it was based on the games. But like I said, after the third one, I checked out and I was like, this is just, not for me. Yeah. But I know people like these.
I get why people like them, but I also
they're just easily digestible, I think. You know what I mean? It's just like nothing to think about. It's people like when people shoot guns.
Yeah,
there's no. You're not watching a bunch of sentient beings get slaughtered if you're watching like these zombies. So it's like in the middle, like I'm not feel guilty because all these people are already dead. So I'm having fun watching them kill all these people. And I don't know. So like I said, I checked out and I was like, this is just totally not for me. But I was curious to see 6 because it was a nostalgia thing because I did watch 1 and 2. And I was like, you know what? This is such a weird franchise that went off the rails. I don't even care to be spoiled. Like I was kind of like looking at Wikipedia for some of the others before I went in, but I'm like, I don't even know what's going on, but I don't care because
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. These stories aren't carefully constructed, you know. Right. So I would never recommend this series to anybody. Yeah. But it's ones just to like, hey, if you know what it is, like I could maybe recommend certain ones. Like I liked 6 kind of.
Well, it's pretty self-contained.
And maybe because I knew it was over. Maybe because I knew it was over after that too. I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. I watched 6. It's done.
Like we've reviewed 1 a while back, but overall, I think I always kind of trash this franchise. We bring it up a lot. But when they were saying that, even then, I still put like not 5. I put Resident Evil 1 like in my top 5 zombie movies because it's one I've watched a lot growing up. It's one of the ones I've seen a lot with like that and Shaun of the Dead because they came out around the same time. But as a whole, it's like they're not great.
It's not great, Cotton.
I went in and I hated the franchise. I always make fun of it. I think I'd appreciate it a little bit more for what it is.
That's the thing. You got to do it for what it is.
Yeah, I think for the fact that it's strong female led, 6 movies over a decade or plus 15 years. I like that aspect of it.
And they are like competently made.
Yeah, they're competently made.
And too, they change genres almost every film, and that's what keeps it going for me. Where I'm like, hey, at least I'm getting something different. I'm not seeing the same. That's what some horror films get in those traps when they are horror. Horror, whenever after the first one, you have like the mystery is gone. You know what I mean? So things become inherently less scary. So then if they change it too much, some people get upset, or if they don't change it enough, it gets boring. With this being more action focused, they can switch genres, and it's like, hey, this is something fresh at least.
And it gets super ridiculous in number 2, so it's not like they jumped the shark.
Yes, exactly. They didn't ruin the franchise.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah,
so they never start off great.
Yeah, because the character of Alice is outside and just happens to hear some people having a scuffle inside of a church. Without knowing the logistics of what's going on, just drives a motorcycle through this thing.
What did she jump? Was she like on the roof of the building next door? Like, how is that possible?
And then I love that she launches it at the liquor, shoots the gas tank, blows it up, kills the liquor.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite scene in that second movie is the white guy, the guy who's in Stars, is like, we gotta save that lady. Jumps out of a helicopter before he's even latched in. They're latching him in as they're falling in. I'm like, Great job. Great job.
You don't get much stuff like that. It's fun. Just a big budget, just ridiculous. Yep. Like, let's go for it.
And then they blow up so many set pieces in the second one. They blow up real buildings.
And they really love putting people on like ropes and have them run down buildings. Because they do that a lot.
There is a value to, it's like, you can't do this stuff on a low budget and make it look as this as good as this.
And if you're taking yourself too seriously, then you don't do this very
Yes, exactly.
So
there's totally value and there's a space for it. And I'm like super glad this thing exists.
Well, and two, like people ask like worldwide, why is it, globally, why is it this franchise made over $1 billion globally?
Yeah.
And I would say, well, look, I've been places before, like with different people, I'll name like different, like a teenager. Yep. And you're sitting there and you're like, oh, just to relate it to food. Like, oh, we're going to get pizza from this local place down the street that's really good. Do you want that? Now I want Papa John's. So you know what you're getting. It's like what you can get, but this is better. It's better I want Papa John's.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same thing with a lot of like these movies. Is people are like, yeah, I know what I know. Like there's this Coen Brothers movie or Moonlight or whatever's out here. But I want the stuff where the girl runs down the building and blows up a monster.
Yeah.
I want the monster.
You need that sometimes.
That is, because I saw the first one in theater, and that is legitimately why we went to see it, because we couldn't agree on a movie.
Yeah.
Because I was going with four friends, and I was like, they were finally like, what about Resident Evil? I was like, fine, because that's better than the other thing that you want to see.
Yeah, some stuff's going to happen in it.
See, ironically, when I was trying to go in high school, I was old enough to drive, but I wasn't 17 yet. So my friends they weren't 16 yet, or I think they weren't 16 yet. So I drove and I went in and I was just like, I want 3 for Resident Evil, and just handed my license real quick and pulled it back. Wait. Let me look at this. And like, you are, because I forget what month it came out. Like, you are 2 months from being 17. And I was like, yeah, but I can drive a car and kill 30 people. Like, why? And they wouldn't sell it to me, so we bought tickets to John Q. And then we tried to sneak into Resident Evil. But they, for whatever reason, the one time in the history of this theater, they had somebody at the door checking tickets for Resident Evil because so many, I guess, underage kids trying to get in. And they wouldn't let us in, so we went and watched John Q, and I was all pissed.
You could have seen half a boob in the first one.
But then, at the end of the day, I think John Q is a better movie than Resident Evil.
So did you ever see Resident Evil in theaters, or did you have to?
No, because I had to wait.
I don't think I had got my license yet because I had like waited to get mine a little bit. And then my mom or somebody took me and a bunch of my friends, but then my friend and his girlfriend also went. But he was like, I'm a little too scared to go see it. So he went to see like some like kids movie or something with his girlfriend. But he liked the games. Yeah. But he was like, I'm too scared.
My sister bought his tickets, and then she left when she was like, oh no, this is the movie with the dogs. And she went and watched Ice Age instead.
I bet that's what he saw. Yeah. I bet it was Ice Age, because I remember it was an animated kids film, but that's exactly what it was. Ice Age movies. I'm sure it was Ice Age. I'm like, dude, you like the games. Like, just the game is fine. Yeah.
But I mean, it's just one of those things where you have like a lot of memories of stuff. Like those franchises, like that's why I think, people have said that's the reason a lot of the Marvel movies have these kind of more simplistic plots. Even if they get convoluted, it's still relatively simple to follow if all you care about is the action. And a lot of times, a lot of these movies, they keep the dialogue at a middle school, high school level vocabulary, and they make it, quippy and easy. And
they explain everything out for you. And if they know what's going on in the movie.
Because
if they don't, then
because I think those movies after the first two, they said we're doing better globally than domestically. Let's focus on the global market, and they really pushed it out. And it's just the way a lot of movies are going.
Yeah, I mean, there won't be another franchise like this in America. Probably just because
unless they keep continuing Underworld,
the industry's going. You know what I mean, with streaming and everything. Like it's not. And again,
and UA Bowles bought most of the video game things.
Yeah,
so.
Really. Yeah.
And they're gonna there have been talks about
the remaking this, right?
Resident Evil, not remaking these movies, just making a new Resident Evil franchise. Which I think will be interesting to see how that goes and what direction they go. Because I think if they go back in the same wheelhouse, then it's like, well, those movies just ended.
I'm surely the guy they'll try to go to. Well, hopefully Monster Hunter is their new big action, foreign market geared thing.
I was really looking on the internet. He's doing a bunch of death race movies that vaguely knew that was happening. So I think that Paul W.S. Anderson's good. He's on Death Race.
Because he had wanted to make Death Race back in the 90s. Right. And then after Event Horizon and something else flopped, they wouldn't let him do it. But then he made the pitch for Resident Evil that they liked, and then he made that. And then he made that Death Race with Jason Statham.
Speaking of Death Race, this is like a Corman film almost. Resident Evil is. He's like, hey, we need this many explosions. Yeah. If there's not every few minutes, we need somebody dying. It seems like they're perfectly constructed to, have a formula to them in some regard.
I think what I would like to see when they reboot the franchise is, maybe something like Overlord, because I don't think you could have, something that has horror, but. Because that movie, I think, overall was paced pretty well. But I don't know what the best thing to do is. I think you got to get into horror and do more of a straight horror film and not rely on action.
I think if they show all the Umbrella stuff behind the scenes, that really ruins the element of being scary.
Yeah.
So I think you need to have more of the contained few characters and environment dealing with the situation story without pulling the sheet back and showing them all the behind the scenes. Well, this is why this happened, because this doctor did this in 2002 and did this and this. I think if you just have it like people in a scary situation.
Yeah.
And then
if you do like I guess this is what they do, but if you have like a Mila Jovovich character come in and like save various different people who are in completely different situations, and then just ignore all the umbrella stuff because that's the part that was dumb. That's the part that like really starts to fall apart.
Yeah. Because they changed the motivation 4 times and their plots really make no sense.
But if you just, send her out into the West and have her fight some cowboy zombies and then she goes to Japan and fights some samurai zombies.
Yeah, I really wonder what they're going to do, what direction. And
go up to Alaska, fight some frozen zombies.
Well, they had James Wan attached, and then he's out of it. But they said they're going back to like true horror roots. They're going to make something horrifying. That's what they said.
Yeah.
So I think it's the guy making it too that made like the Something Meters Down shark movie and the Strangers Pray at Night.
Yeah.
And I don't like those, but that's, that doesn't matter. It's not, again, that's not my genre.
Well, too, a lot of those projects, like these franchises, they'll have somebody attached and then it'll just rotate out.
Yeah.
They keep going in like development circles and things like that. Because there was, I forget what it was, there was something recently where like, there's movies by the time they actually get made, there's been 20 different directors attached at some point.
Yeah.
Well, the new Will Smith movie, Ang Lee, 97 is when they started. They said like Clint Eastwood was going to be in it. It was like all these people that was like, they have aged out of it.
And Kent, my husband was just reading me last night, like he was like, oh no, Christopher Nolan is attached to this. I think it was like a She-Hulk project, he thought. And then he was like, oh, no, it's just a rumor. It's just a rumor. He's like, no, it was the Green. He read a rumor on the internet that Christopher Nolan was attached to a Green Lantern Corps movie. And he was like, no. But I was like, first of all, calm down. You have no idea. And secondly, it's entirely a rumor.
Yeah, because
it's entirely a rumor.
Christopher Nolan, I don't know that he wants to go like onto the kind of out there comic booky stuff because like his entire Batman series is like, this is real.
Yeah.
This is grim dark. This is real.
And that's exactly the conversation that we were having about how, if anything shouldn't be real, it is the Green Lantern Corps.
And right now, he seems to be on the track of being able to do his own original stories.
Yeah,
Now, he may produce that Green Lantern thing, because didn't he produce Batman vs. Superman?
He produced
you know what I mean?
Like,
Man of
I don't think he stayed on with the other
Okay, but yeah, you know what I mean? I can see him producing it.
See, Christopher Nolan's like, so here's the thing, guys. My Joker, he bangs. He's not an incel. I don't want anything to do with DC anymore. No, all right, no hate mail.
You guys want to do a Resident Evil quiz real quick?
Sure.
All right, this is quotes from Resident Evil. Okay, only this first one I think I'm gonna do in his voice because it matters. We reach Raccoon City in 12 hours. I doubt even you can run that long. Now, anybody can yell out the name. What title? What Resident Evil movie? You can say 6.
Oh, that's from 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's Jorah Mormont. But I don't know the character's name.
Bonus points.
It's the clone version of Jorah Mormont.
Okay, you guys keep your own score. Double point. Yeah, you like how it tastes, don't you?
Jesus. I have no idea.
The thing.
Okay, somebody is dripping blood down.
Oh, that's Michelle Rodriguez in the first one.
Yes, okay, got it. All right. This one might be easy if you know these movies. Climb the Eiffel Tower with a high-powered rifle. A few years ago, that would have caused a stir. Well, let the good times roll.
Extinction.
Yes, Extinction. Okay.
The cowboy guy.
And then the zombies climb up Alpha Tower and get him anyway. And I'm like, come on, man. Sorry.
All right, I'm just skipping a couple of these. Let's say because some of them are like, wait, that quote isn't a bunch of them. When I get out of here, I think I'm gonna get laid.
That's got to be 2 with crap.
Nope.
LJ.
I was like, is it 4?
Nope.
Oh, see. I don't know.
I mean, there's only a few.
Take a guess then. They said 2.
Extinction.
Nope. The first one. It was Rain. Michelle Rodriguez.
Oh, okay. Good for her.
Were you expecting a man to say that?
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right. This is not a funny. I want her quarantined, close observation, and a full series of blood tests. Let's see if she's infected. Take her down to Raccoon City facility, then assemble the team. We're reopening the hive. We want to know what went down.
Oh, that's 2 for sure.
Nope.
It's gotta be popular.
It's 1. It's the end of 1. The teaser for 2.
Okay.
The teaser for 2.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. The zombie walks in front of his car. GTA, motherfucker. Runs over the zombie.
It's LL Cool J.
Yeah, 10 points.
And then immediately crashes his car with
That's
his zombie hookers.
He does that, and I think, he crashes. But right before that is when the topless stripper zombies walk by, and he's like,
He crashes because he sees zombie titties?
Yeah.
Really? Come on.
I've been a bad, bad girl.
Jesus. Does Alice say that?
No.
It's got to be probably Michelle Rodriguez. It's probably from 5.
Oh, no, I hope it's the Red Queen.
It is the Red Queen. It's a 12-year-old girl or whatever. Okay. You motherfuckers is crazy. Look, that big motherfucker got a rocket launcher.
That's 2.
Okay, 2. All right. And some of these are just like, hey, if you know the movies. Well, isn't this one big family reunion? Chris and Claire Redfield, you've really become quite an inconvenience for me.
4.
Yeah.
Yep, 4. Who said? Did you say 4 first?
Yeah, I'm not paying attention.
I mean, this candy. We got we got 6 pieces of candy.
I literally don't know
Okay.
anything.
Well, I'll be damned. LJ, sneaky son of a bitch, as this character finds a joint to smoke before
it's
zombies attack him and his
number
vehicle blows up.
3.
3.
Yes. Okay.
I
Number 3.
love that scene. It's the most tension in any of these movies where you're like, light it!
Because he's actually likable.
Yeah.
Okay, he's actually likable. He's going to die. Yeah.
But he's like sacrificing himself. It's just solid.
He smoked a joint, which is illegal.
Okay. I don't know if this
It's
is.
probably in a state where it's legal.
They're in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
aren't
cops
they?
are
Vegas.
illegal.
But the zombie apocalypse happened in 2002 before all this stuff was legalized. So zombie
I
law
guess.
is zombie law, though.
I guess as far as long as it could be is 2012.
So lawful good.
I'm
Right?
just joking.
Okay. Luther here is our resident superstar. I wonder if that's a reference to the movie.
Oh, that's the prison one. Number 4.
yeah.
Yep. Okay. How touching. The trinity of bitches united in their hatred.
Oh, final chapter.
Yeah.
There is a lot of the bitches used in that first movie. I was looking at the quotes. Some I wrote down when I was watching the movie, but like they say MF for a whole lot, and I think in that second one, I think, and bitches a whole lot in that first one.
Somebody really likes phrase fruit.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. All right, so this is kind of this is context for the quote. So Alice, looking at a bunch of guns in an armory, 30 seconds after someone on her team gets murdered. Nice.
That's a 4.
Yes, 4. After the woman gets like pulled into the water, they walk through the door and she goes, nice. And they don't even say anything about
They don't get it. Like, oh, God, yeah.
The lady who's like, I was on the swim team. I should come with you.
Exactly. That she just gets knocked off
She's
and that's it.
Literally,
Yeah.
she's literally just
Yeah.
given fodder in that scene. Ugh. So stupid.
You guess we'll know. The Red Queen is determined to destroy all life on Earth. This is the last that remain of us, of the human race. It seems we're bonded against a common foe. This is why we need you back. The ultimate weapon. This is humanity's last stand, the beginning of the end.
6.
5.
5, the beginning of the end. Some of these are setups and some of these are, I know it's a twist. All right. That's right, star power, bitches.
Oh, that's Luther in number 4?
Yes,
Yeah.
4, okay.
That's his final
All
line.
right, here's the last one. Here's the last one. Those pork and beans are lethal. I don't see how those cowboys do it.
Oh, it's Extinction.
Yeah, it's Extinction, Luther. All right, who
That's
won?
the guy that can shake
How many
your
points
hand.
did you get?
I'm so sorry. I don't.
All right,
I did not.
I'm going to pass out to everybody then. Who wants what?
I'm going to take some. I want some peanut M&Ms.
I'll take some of these sweet tart chews.
I'll crinkle them right on my for you guys.
I was looking for a Resident Evil centric gift, but I didn't.
That's okay.
I didn't have
severed
any.
hats?
Yeah, I was going to bring an umbrella, but William drove me because I had car problems, so I couldn't stop to get one on the way, and I didn't want to just take my wife's umbrella and tell her I gave it away at a podcast.
You know who the Red Queen is in 6?
Huh?
You know who the Red Queen
is it?
The girl.
Yeah.
who's
Isn't the
that?
girl from Silent Hill?
No, it's Mila
Ouija
Djokovic. No, it's Mila Djokovic's daughter.
Oh.
Really?
It's her and Paula W. Sanderson.
Family
It
affair.
did look like her. I was
Yeah.
kind of surprised.
Family
I didn't know that
affair.
either, but I was like, just kind of reading about the movie, and it was like, oh, that's her daughter.
That's interesting, yeah. Because the other one's like probably 27 now or something like that. You know, if she was
don't
like
remember.
7,
Yeah.
or if she was like 10 when that first one came out in 2012.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
original, like the
Gotcha.
original actress is like.
I thought you meant
Yeah.
Mila Jovovich's other daughter,
Yeah, I was like,
and I was like,
No, sorry. I meant the original Red Queen actress
Yeah.
has to be so aged out of that
Right.
role that is insane.
But they use her daughter for it. Like, it kind of makes sense because then you could at least have some type of resemblance because she played her young,
Yeah.
young self, old self, and whatever.
So all in all, don't watch the Resident Evil movies.
Well, if it's a series that you're not already into,
finish it.
Like I said, I enjoyed watching 6. When I went to see that film, I'm glad I went to see that movie. I don't know if you have to watch all those in the middle, especially they're not free to watch anywhere now. Sony Crackle, the Crackle service has some on there. They have a few, but like you actually have to pay for some of these.
I don't think
and I don't recommend that. I recommend waiting until they go free.
Yeah, none of them are like essential viewing, but I mean, I enjoyed them enough. Like I said, I went into this because like me and Sean talked to Origins and we'll watch all 6 of them just because I always talk about them. And then and it's like I ended up watching them like I kind of like them. Like I came in like thinking they're stupid.
They give you something different than no other series.
It's like I think 1 is legitimately good for what it is, and then I think once you get out of that, you have spurts where like 1 was enjoyable, 3 was enjoyable, 6 was good.
1 was a movie.
If I had a rate, I would give 1 like a 7. Like, hey, this is pretty good. Yeah, and then they're kind of down from there.
Yeah, but then like you get like 3, which I think its idea was better than what it was. Yeah. And then like you have like 4 to me was kind of forgettable. 5 had its moments, and 6 was pretty good. Like 2 was just like they just jumped.
It was an attempt at fan service.
Yeah, it was big. I think they like, we didn't do enough in the first one, so we're just gonna go all out in the second one.
When we did the first podcast too. Apparently, he wanted all the actors and actresses to play through the entire game or watch a playthrough of it.
Yeah,
but it's like why? Wow. It has nothing. There's no tone or anything similar hardly. Like just watch a zombie film maybe because.
Yeah, I always remember them talking about that because there's like things where like a show like there's behind the scenes where Michelle Rodriguez is like playing the game or something, and she's like, "I studied this for my role." It's like,
your character's not even in the game.
Yeah. She should have walked. Like, did she walk in a corner and just turn around awkwardly? Because the game was notoriously hard to control. Yeah, because the camera angles changed.
I love that dedication though. That she's like, I gotta play the game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody seems pretty enthusiastic. All the Michelle Rodriguez coming back. Right. That's what I like about it is everybody seems like they probably had a good time making it. They all kept working together. Like Sony made some money. They made some money. They kept working throughout all these years.
And they're like expensive B movies.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. Yes, that's what I like about it. Yeah. So I mean, like I have no
still.
bones.
I think there are way better B movies out there.
They really should have done a crossover. They had Vin Diesel as Triple X coming to the Resident Evil stores.
He would have said that Mila Jovovich could never have outpunched him or something. She can't kill more zombies than I can.
Then there are also just like every single movie. There's a scene where I'm like, no, baby, it's okay. They were blown to safety. There's constantly explosions that have no effect on people.
One move I love is, I think it's in 4. They're at the prison. There's an elevator.
Yes.
And so she throws her bomb on top of the elevator. So it blows everybody down.
It blows up the cables. And I was like, well, they're still going to die. And then they hit water. I was like, but they would still die.
That's the people she was trying to save. Like that was, that's the logic of these films.
I just still love where she's like, I'm a normal human now. Or normal human woman.
She's a normal human woman.
But then they wreck the airplane and they both live. And it's like.
She kicks a plate glass through a dog.
But why did she survive the car crash? Because she has
the airplane crash and the car crash.
Now I have read a theory on the internet that she died in the plane crash, and that it is that in the next 2 movies, later in that movie and other movies, who we are following a clone, which then I guess technically is also true in this final chapter.
Oh, also too, I saw something. I was like, where does Raccoon City take place? I think, what did I see? I guess
Missouri?
That's a common fan theory, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Is Missouri.
Because it's relatively near Texas.
Yeah, I always thought it was near Texas, but it was in Texas.
But granted, this is a simulation. So the simulation in part 5, when she's at the house and her and Michelle Rodriguez are driving, they see a helicopter. And the call letters, let's see, did I write this down? The call letters are, I think, W something, something, something. Well, anything west of the Mississippi should be a K.
Yeah.
And anything east is
and since
a
they
W.
And since they are on like pinpoint accuracy in these simulations.
And so that doesn't line up with this Raccoon City in this world being the game, if it is all true.
Now, do you think they have like a prop department that's like painting stuff on the side of helicopters?
Yeah, they do. Do you think they researched like, they must have just said, just make the call letters this,
Or was it simply that they got some local news channel to cooperate?
The helicopter's like trash though.
They blow it up.
They might have, but it was all like trash.
Hey, look, we were using a helicopter ride.
And it said Raccoon City on the side of it.
And I think
Raccoon City.
I think they shoot most of these in Toronto. Is that the right place? Is that the right city? So I bet they were like, this movie over here has a crashed helicopter. Can we have that? Are you guys done with that?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of times movies have big factual errors I hear about. Because like Cloverfield at the beginning of Cloverfield, it said they recovered the entire video from an SD card.
Oh, yeah.
But it cuts in and out like a tape where you record it over. You literally cannot record over video on an SD card.
Well, I saw that and I was like, where is Raccoon City at? Because I thought I knew for sure, but something said that was just a like
fan theory.
Everybody assumes that that's what it is.
Because like at one point, I think when they're going back,
I'm trying to find some more evidence to support that fan
they
theory.
they have a highway sign that says 64. And I know 64 goes to St. Louis, so I'm like, it's got to be St. Louis.
Yeah.
But they have it marked out where it doesn't say for sure.
But again, this whole story was constructed by people in Japan that liked watching zombie movies.
Yeah.
And this is their ideal of America. And they were
the
probably,
Romero zombie movies were mostly set like in the Pennsylvania, Pittsburghy, out in that area type.
I just don't think you can trust anything that happened in the simulation, as I guess.
or in these movies. So simulation in the movie? No. Yeah. That was just another thing that I noticed.
Yeah, because there is no Raccoon City.
Yeah.
I wish there was. I wish there was a city named after every like animal. There's like Raccoon City, Muskrat City.
There should have been a
Possum
giant
City.
raccoon that was the final boss of the Afterlife, or final chapter.
It's eating all the
All
trash.
right, anything else on Resident Evil?
I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for being
Sure.
on. We
Thank you for having
appreciate
me.
it. Yeah.
So so
Listen to Kill Screen Cinema if you want.
yeah. So Kill Screen Cinemas on iTunes, all the podcast
Yeah,
things.
we're part of the Destination Nation Network here in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay, yeah, the comic shop and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So there are a bunch of
Are you involved in the show at all, or the?
the
Bag and Board?
The Bag and Board. I am not, but the other two people. I mean, my husband is the main character, Kent,
Yeah.
and then our other podcasting host, Craig, is one of the writers.
Okay.
So like we talk about Bag and Board too much on our podcast. We talk about it. We do mostly making fun of things. So if you enjoy that, then listen. But we don't do analysis really.
Yeah.
But video game movies.
Yeah. No, I listen occasionally too. So William's been on. Have you been on one? Right.
Will was on one.
Yeah.
And
The
Julie's
Dungeons
been
and
on
A
Dragons.
couple
Yes,
times. Yeah. Because that's
Yeah.
we have fun. We've been doing it for too long.
Yeah, we'll hopefully have more of you guys on here. We thought this would be a good one because I was like scrolling through like, oh, they've seen most of the Resident Evils. That would be an easy ask and not
I
a lot of
did,
commitment for them.
I did ask Kent. Kent was working today, but I almost was like, Kent, do you want me to ask if you could come too?
Yeah, for
But he
sure.
had to work
So
today.
yeah.
But feel free to.
thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it. All right.
And too, like discussing a movie is about a female main character, not just having it all be white dudes.
Oh,
discussing.
sure.
And I wasn't even thinking that to begin with. I was like, oh, that's a good mixture because
Well, any
Most
mixture is good
podcasts-
on for any topic, you know.
yeah, because if you have us discussing the intricacies of Get Out, it's like, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, which we do, but
it's like, yeah, we are the most qualified. I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, I know.
Yeah, we don't need the Twitter people to be like, well, actually. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I'm not qualified really to talk about video games. I mean, I play video games, but like the last game I played was the Goose Game, the Untitled Goose Game, which is a blast.
Oh, yeah, I've
But
seen that.
yeah.
has nothing to do.
I
They're
haven't
never going
played
to make a
that,
movie
but
based
I've
on
been
that.
hearing about it. Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
But yeah, so I think that'll wrap up our discussion on Resident Evil. As always, leave a review on the podcast, whatever app you're using. That always helps. All the stuff is at houseofastore.com. We now just have HBTVS.com because Chad stole it from the Chinese. It was a Chinese company that owned it, and they let the rights lapse, and he got it. So we now have that little acronym is ours. But yeah, so you can find links to all the social media accounts, all that stuff. It's all there. And if you will find us specifically on social media, I'm on Instagram at the William Caps.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Capster.
I don't really
Anything to plug? Nothing to plug?
Just the
Kill Screen
Kill Screen
Cinema.
Cinema.
Okay.
We're on
All right.
Twitter and Facebook.
At Kill Screen Cinema.
Yeah, I think it's just. I think on Twitter we are Kill Screen Cine because there you can't add that last A. But yeah, we're on
Okay.
there.
I'm at Blevin Sean on Twitter.
And that'll wrap up this episode of the House Movie Store Podcast. Thanks for listening.